Welcome everyone. So as you're joining in, just if you can just turn off your audio if it's not already, and you can keep your video on or off, it's up to you, but you know, it's nice to have it on just so we're kind of connecting. I can see you. So just wait a couple minutes just as everyone kind of like joins in, and you know, in this time just waiting, if you wanted to just set your intention for being here and maybe just closing your eyes, just taking a few deep breaths. Yeah, just really setting that intention. So what's brought you here today to learn all about business in feminine flow, deepen your connection to your feminine energy, to your purpose and passion. Just setting that intention. Just taking some deep breaths. Okay. Right. So just one more deep breath in, all the way down to your belly. And exhale out the mouth. Beautiful. Okay, so you can open your eyes and just arrive here fully. So first of all, just want to say thank you so much for everyone who's joining here today, tonight, wherever you're coming in from. I know it's the 4th of July in America. So taking this time to kind of, I guess, embody that freedom, independence, liberation that day kind of represents to you and what it's all about, and take this step that we're going to really embark upon, like by exploring doing business in the feminine way, which is a new way of doing business, which is really about, like, you know, sovereignty and working your own hours and taking that plunge to become an entrepreneur if you're not already in that realm. So I just want to kind of get an idea, like for those of you who are here, where you're at. So are you already have a business, or you're just interested in starting a business? So if you could write in the comment box, the chat box, just like, you know, either birthing or rebirthing. So birthing is like you're just starting in this early stages, or rebirthing is like you're already kind of doing your thing. You've been working on something for a while. You're just kind of, you know, wanting to add new skills and information. Okay, cool. Birthing. Cool. Okay, awesome. So there's lots of birthing. Yeah. A few rebirths. Powerful. It's powerful because it's, you know, Cancerian month, which is my sun sign. I don't know if there's any other Cancerians in here, which is all about the mother, you know, the divine mother archetype, which is all about birth and creation. So it feels good to be doing this in this month, Cancerian month. Okay, so first of all, I want to just start. Yeah, so what is business in feminine flow? So for me, it was like, really, I worked in the corporate world for a few years after university in marketing and advertising agencies, and, you know, did the whole 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and realized, you know, this way of working and this way of doing business and life didn't support my feminine flow and my feminine essence, which is cyclical, you know. So as we're women, we go through our menstrual cycle each month, which is a full cycle. It's like a death rebirth cycle, but it's like our hormones are literally going like this every month, whereas male hormones are more flat line. You know, they don't really fluctuate that much during the month. And so that style of working 9 to 5 every single day, pretty much, you know, you get 2 days off, those 2 days are recovering, like it can serve the male body, but it doesn't really serve a female body. So I would experience like literally 2 weeks of the month super productive and super like on point, and then the other 2 weeks I was just like all over the place and not as productive, you know, experiencing strong emotion. And you know, those weeks were those times when I was in menstruation phase and premenstrual phase. So the week of bleeding and the week before the bleeding. And then, you know, during the other 2 weeks, the follicular and then the ovulation, week 2 and 3, it was like so much energy and I was getting so much done. And I really realized like this doesn't suit my natural way of being, you know. And I was working at like a strong female dominated industries, like magazine industries, advertising. So a lot of women were there. I worked with a lot of women and a lot of us were all kind of experiencing this. And it was really then that I realized, yeah, like I can't live the rest of my life doing this like thing that's going against what feels natural to me. So it was really the catalyst to take my power back and start to really work, live, and just be in a way that suited what my core value was, which was living in alignment with my feminine flow, my creative expression, and being my own boss, like entrepreneur type journey. And I remember, you know, and some of you might relate to this, like I remember back then realizing or saying to my best friend at the time, you know, I don't want to, I was like studying naturopathy to become a nutritionist and a naturopath. And I was like, you know, I'm probably just going to end up working for another company, like a health food store or something, because I'm not a risk taker. Like I don't want to start my own business because I'm not a risk taker yet. Maybe one day I will. And I had this belief system, like that's not me. And then these belief systems, you know, they're completely false a lot of the time, because that was not the case. It was like life just kind of gave me all these opportunities and it invited me into stepping into becoming that entrepreneur and taking those huge risks, like quitting the corporate role, you know, going from like reliable, stable income to I don't know where my income's going to come from and how it's going to come in and which months are going to be good. And so it was like going from like this security blanket almost, which is also a cap, you know, when you work in that a wage type system, it's like you don't really have like anywhere beyond what the yearly wages you can earn. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's safe, but there's also not much expansion beyond that. So it was super scary, like so scary at that time. I was living in Sydney and like completely paying like so much rent, you know, and going from that to that really was a risk. And I just had to jump off the cliff. I'm like, well, if it doesn't work out, you know, I can just go and get another advertising job. Like, you know, everything's going to work out. Just had to trust. And you know, it was that jumping off the cliff that actually inspired like the biggest transformation yet. And it just takes that taking that risk and jumping off the cliff and like saying yes, you know, and really knowing that you can always go back, but usually you don't. So I don't know if some of you can relate to that if you're in that birthing phase, like when you're in a transition. So yeah, so fast forward, you know, 10 years now, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years, working in my own rhythm, creating my own hours and really serving from my soul and really feeling that creative expression. So I'm like proof that, like, you know, living in your feminine flow and really trusting the universe actually works, and it actually works to your favor, because when you're living in alignment with your soul, like the universe can't not support that. It's just like the natural law. Like when you say yes to your soul, like the universe is like, yes, yes, like, and gives you all the opportunities that want you to thrive. So people will come in, opportunities will come in, but it's really taking that risk at the start. So I hope that this is like that permission slip for you to just like really take that plunge. And so, yeah, I want to talk about, yeah, obviously business in feminine flow. So basically how I've been working and structuring my business and my life really for the past 10 years has really been centered around my menstrual cycle. And so this is something that, you know, you can apply, like if you're an entrepreneur or even if you're just working any job, you know, this is like to apply as a like blueprint of life essentially, and to allow you to tap more into your femininity and harness your feminine energy as well as your masculine energy in balance. Because most of the time, most of us are living in pure yang. It's just like that, you know, 9 to 5 is like go, 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 go. Like 2 days, it's really only one day sometimes of rest a week. And that's like not enough to be in that yin. Then, you know, you have to work through your period and that menstrual phase. And it's just like the worst thing to be doing during that phase of like the deepest yin time, to be like trying to, you know, get in the pantsuit and be productive and get out there and hustle. It's like the complete opposite of that menstruation phase and the power that we can tap into during that phase. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle and how you can work with them in business, you know. So first of all, we have the menstrual phase. So this would be of a 28-day cycle. I'm just using 28 days as the average. Some of you might be 30, you know, it's usually around 28 to 32, but 28 we'll just use that for now. Day 1 to 7 is your menstruation phase. So when you start bleeding. So day 1 is the first day you would start bleeding. And then, you know, usually it's like finished up by around 7, but maybe you bleed for the whole 7, or maybe it's just 3 or 4, like, but that's the phase where your hormones are, so of that bell curve like this, your hormones are at the lowest in this phase. So it's like with that, you know, the hormones are at the lowest, your energy is at its lowest, meaning like you're needing to rest during this phase and really go into your yin energy, because you know, in Tantra and Ayurveda and like, you know, the principles of masculine, feminine, yin and yang, this week is when you're the most peak yin, so most peak feminine, receptive. And so with that, that's why I'm saying, like, you know, you're not wanting to be going out and doing a presentation or going and trying to close a sales deal or like doing a tour if you're, I don't know, a speaker or a musician or whatever. Like, you're not wanting to be outward during this phase. This is a time to be inward. And how to make the most of this yin phase is, this menstruation phase is doing exactly that. So creating that space, creating rituals and time for yourself to receive the insights, listen, go deeply within, because when you do this, so how the creation process works, you know, any artist will know this, we're all artists, you know, we're all creators. It's like, we need to go into that stillness, like the void, in order to receive the inspiration, you know, for creation. And when you're doing this, it's like you're tapping into an intelligence that's beyond just like the mind that wants to create, like the mind creation. It's more of like source creation is wanting to knock on your door and be like, hey, this is an epic idea and I want to birth through you, because everyone has something that wants to birth through them. And that's, you know, it can be a baby, it could be a project, it could be this, that, like whatever, everyone has something. And so this time to make the most of it is to create space to really be and listen and meditate. And especially that first day of your menstrual cycle, day 1, if you can't, obviously, you know, 7 days is like unrealistic. But first day of that menstrual cycle is the day to really go into that yin receptive phase and, you know, do things like rituals, like meditation, lots of meditation. So I usually do like maybe 3, you know, like a morning midday and an evening meditation. So do like 30 minutes or to an hour just sitting. It's kind of like, if anyone's done Vipassana, it's kind of like a mini Vipassana, this one day of the menstrual cycle. So you're doing a lot of meditation. You're working with your menstrual blood. So really capturing the blood like in a menstrual cup or a pad, those period panties, something that, you know, you can use the blood to release anything that's not serving you, that's, you know, wanting to be released out of your body from, that's blocking you from being present to source, being present to yourself. And, you know, clearing out the womb space, because this is your creative portal. So these are two powerful rituals to do during that phase. And then the third is like a lot of journaling and reflection, and just really sitting with yourself and asking, you know, what wants to birth through me. Guided meditations are really powerful, like womb guided meditations or yin yoga or yoga nidras, like these things that really get you into that still point, you know. So your yoga practice, if you do yoga, it'd be more like a yin practice, not like a ashtanga or kundalini, something like that. And this is not the phase to be doing your jade egg. So you don't do any jade egg inserting anything in when you're bleeding. It's, you're just letting the energy flow down and really holding that space for yourself to just be, and really just listening. So it's like being unattached to, what wants to come through, and just allowing that space to listen. And it's also a good time to get creative. So, you know, if you feel like, oh, I just put off this, you know, like if you paint or you sing, or that hobby that you have that like really helps you get in that creative energy, it's this day, like just dedicate, you know, a couple of hours to painting or drawing, like just for the sake of it, you know, getting in touch with that inner child and that creative spark, because you're, you know, it's like we're very in that kind of, in an altered state during this week. So to make sense of it, art is a good way to express and really tap into that creation energy. So dancing, painting, drawing, journaling, and really like being kind of, you know, disciplined with it. So like setting aside like a couple of hours to like literally just do that practice. Like, okay, in the afternoon, I'm going to just like free flow paint or draw or whatever. And this helps you tap into that universal creation energy. Eva asked, what about self-pleasuring during the first few days of the bleeding? Yeah, so self-pleasure, you know, some women feel like the most turned on when they're bleeding. And I mean, it's just unique to everyone. It's like, just if you feel that, like, and you want to self-pleasure, then yeah, go for it. I mean, it actually really helps, like when you orgasm, to like, because, you know, the womb's contracting and the muscles are contracting to like move any of the blood, like any stagnant blood. It helps like really move it out. I wouldn't use any like wands or anything too intense, but like, you know, yeah, fingers and like other, you know, like self-pleasuring through your clitoris and nipples and like external, and just like gentle insertion, but nothing too like intense that's being put in there, like a big dildo or whatever, crystal dildo. But yeah, that really can help like just release, and just like, you know, it's like, yeah, I forgot to mention that as well, like self-pleasure during this phase, like, you know, receiving touch from yourself. So like self-massage, breast massage, you know, this is that like portal of receptivity as well. And receiving a massage if you want to like book a massage, but self-touch and massage is really like just like nurturing yourself during this phase. And then it's like, you know, because if you're working in a realm of like service-based, it's like taking this day, like literally one day a month, will recharge you. Like if you're a healer or a coach or whatever, working in service-based industry, like you need to take that time for yourself so you can really show up to your clients. So it's like one day of the month is doable, you know. And even if you're a mother, like speaking to your partner, like maybe can you take the kids like this day, and so I can have some time just to like recharge myself. It's the active self-love. and it really like charges us up as women so we can fully create in the world and serve and be that radiant energy that we're here to be. So from there, you know, we go into so you've like received some insights, you've received some downloads of, you know, a creative project that wants to come through, or something really powerful that wants to come through you. And then day 7 to 14, this is the, you know, the week after we bleed, the second week. This is the follicular phase. And so this phase, you know, the hormones start to pick up. So they're not at the peak yet, they're just like picking up. And actually during this week, our left and right hemisphere of the brain is the most like balanced. So our hormones and everything is the most balanced. Our yin and yang is actually the most balanced. And so it's a really good time to do any like research or getting things planned, you know, or like making connections. So just say, you know, you had an idea to, I don't know, start something, some business venture or some project, and it's involving other people maybe, or you need to connect with someone. This would be the week to like set up your meetings and do research on, you know, if it is like a market research, you know, so if you're working with clients, this would be the week to like research your client avatar, your dream client. I like to use that term. So you can get like an idea of like who they are, how you can best serve them. So you're doing more like market research, like looking at, you know, people who do similar things in your industry, like what are they doing? Like what's the kind of like feel, you know, just like putting the feelers out there, because you just come out of that womb cave and now it's like, ooh, let's, whatever inspiration came through, let's like start to action it, like put out plans and structures in place, not like full action yet, but like putting the structures in place, setting up meetings, setting up calls, setting up, making a call to a venue or something, you know, setting up sales calls, whatever you need to do. But this is a really good week for that, for really optimizing that balanced brain during this week. So, and making like, yeah, like informed decisions. You're a bit more coherent this week. Like that bleeding phase is like, you know, we're in like another realm during that week. So it's not the best time to be making like a really important decision. But this week is really a good week for that. And yeah, this is a good week to really start to plant those seeds of the manifestation. So planting the seeds of, yeah, what it is you're wanting to birth. So anything that came through, like starting to work with that conception energy. So you can do this with the jade egg practice, is, you know, like setting an intention each time, like what are you receiving in, what are you planting seeds of to manifest during the month. So yeah, this is a really powerful week for all those sort of type things. And then, you know, we come into the day 14 to 21. Usually we're ovulating around day 12. If it's a 28-day cycle, it's like the middle. So 14, give and take 2 days either side. So it'd be like 12 to 16. That's like your peak fertility, like peak ovulation phase. So during this week, the ovulation week, day 14 to 21, this is the, yeah, ovulation phase. And when you're, so on that bell curve, this is the top. So this is when your hormones are at their peak. Like, so they're literally like, you've got the most energy, you're full yang. So this is when your energy is the most peak yang. So your inner masculine is like on fire this week. So anything that needs to be like actioned, anything that needs to be, requires this, like, it's the yang, it's the sun energy. So you're more outward in the world. So this would be that week to schedule those things that are requiring that type of energy. So, you know, if you're doing a presentation or you're working with your clients, this is a good week to kind of schedule a lot of them around, you know, this week, because you're the most like on fire. You've got the best expression as well, because, you know, that masculine energy is all about The masculine is like, is the expression. So, you know, that's why men have that Adam's apple, because they're penetrating the world through their voice a lot of the time and expressing, you know, and talking and like leading. So this is the time to really do any speaking engagements that you have planned, and really just riding that wave of yang. So like for me, like I do a lot in this week, and it's almost like sometimes I joke, like I'd work 1 week of the month, but it's not really. It's more like I just do like a lot in this week, and then the rest of the month I'm working with this cycle, and it's like kind of just like tidying up things. And like, but this is when I'm like, whoa, I feel a surge of energy and just a lot of stuff gets done. If you're launching or like birthing projects or putting out like a program or like a offering into the world, this is the really powerful week to put that out. Like, so like being mindful, like, okay, I'm not just going to like schedule this whenever, like to put out in the world. It's like, no, I'm going to look at my cycle. When am I next ovulating? I'm going to like birth this project, this offering this date. And, you know, you're going to ride that energy really, really strong because you're so magnetic during this time. And because of that magnetism, it's a really powerful week to do any manifestation rituals, sex magic, like working with your orgasmic manifestation energy. So really that's all about just bringing orgasm, or your orgasmic energy linked with your intentions for the month, and allowing yourself to like literally take yourself on a self-pleasure journey and merge your intentions with your orgasmic energy. And, you know, I teach a whole process around this, and it's like super powerful to just, because that orgasmic energy is like your life force, truest, like clearest, cleanest, radiant energy. And so if you're intentionally self-pleasuring and like at that point of orgasm, focusing on what your intention is, that is like super powerful in magnetizing whatever it is that you're wanting to call into your life, and what you're wanting to create. So you think of it as like literally this is the week that you would get pregnant if a sperm came in. So what else do you want to create during this week, you know? And you can do this with like the manifestation magic practice, and having intention around, you know, self-pleasure and orgasm. And also if you're in a relationship, you know, making love together and bringing that energy of creation together. So what are we wanting to plant seeds of? What are we wanting to manifest together if you're making love with your partner, as opposed to just like, yeah, just like unconsciously making love? It's like, no, let's like tap into this powerful energy, this ovulation energy, and set those intentions for what we want to manifest as an individual and even as a couple. So this is that week to really like tap into that potent natural energy that's flowing through you. Yeah. So I like to do the jade egg as well, like a little bit more this week. So probably like, you know, 3 times during this week, because it's like there's so much energy and I'm wanting to circulate it through my body, and, you know, obviously making love with my partner and all that. But yeah, so this is a good week to really tap into the jade egg practice as well, if you're into that. Okay, so from the ovulation we're at day 21 now till 28. So, you know, you've just ovulated, you've just like, you know, had this full yang energy and just like got a lot of stuff done. You've done so much manifestation magic, you're just feeling full power. And then something starts to happen. The hormones start to fall and they start to like tailor off, and then the energy is like, oh, it's starting to dwindle off. And so this is, as those hormones are coming down, you know, so too is your uterus lining. So it's starting to shed if you didn't get pregnant, which, you know, when they usually get pregnant like 1 to 3 times in a whole lifespan, if we choose that. So that what's happening emotionally, physically and energetically is you know, physically it's like shedding the uterus lining. Emotionally, anything that's not serving you, that isn't supporting that creation that's wanting to come through, is going to start to show up. So any unconscious beliefs, any unconscious patterns are going to start to show up during this phase, because like things are starting to shed away. And yeah, so energetically the same. It's like you know, anything that's not true just wants to be released. So this can cause, you know, a lot of like confusion, a lot of emotion, a lot of like intense feelings. If you're not consciously like aware of, oh, this is my premenstrual week, or having a practice around like, how do I move through these emotions and hold space for myself, or seek support for someone to hold space for me, then it's going to be intense, you know. And it's like anything, the more you resist, the more it persists. So that feeling that keeps coming up, you know, maybe it's sadness, maybe it's like rage towards your partner or something, or whatever the theme is. And usually it's a similar theme. If you haven't faced it and really felt it and dealt with it, it'll keep coming back bigger and bigger each month. And that's when, you know, you start getting problems like on the physical level, like strong periods, like lots of blood loss, lots of pain. You know, these things are linked deeply with this ability to let go. And like on the spiritual level, what's being held in the unconscious, because, you know, we hold a lot of our unconscious emotion and traumas and memories in that womb portal. So it's important to have a practice around this week to clear out that stuff that's there. And it's really quite simple, you know. I mean, it really just takes courage to actually go there. So to create space for yourself, like, oh shit, like I'm feeling that thing again. I want to just like, you know, blast my partner, or just like, you know, like I feel like I just want to like run away and just cry for days. It's like listening to that call and actually creating that space for yourself to do that, to actually feel. Because once you just create space for yourself to actually really feel, then you can release that emotion, release that trauma. And some of the tools that I use are breath, sound, and movement, and awareness. So, you know, it's similar to the inner child process that I teach a lot. It's like really going into the feeling, going into the sensation in the physical body. So you might feel sadness. It's like, gosh, oh, I can feel it in my heart. And then going into what that, like a visual, like what does that look like? And then what does that sound like? So allowing a sound to move from your heart. So really getting sound, allowing a movement. How would that move? So maybe you're like, you know, moving your body, like getting music involved is good to help you like really move the energy through your body. Breathing, sounding, and moving. So identifying where it is in your body you feel it, sounding through it, breathing through it, and moving through it. And yeah, like I have many playlists on my Spotify that you can check out, like that are really good for just like evoking different emotions, like sadness, you know, there's more like intense if you have like rage, or like intense like anger. Really getting your body, if you're feeling anger, a good way to express anger is like beating a pillow. So this practice has literally like saved my life. Just like expressing a lot of like intense emotion, so you can just like release it out of the body. It's like we can't solve it in our minds. Like this stuff is just so deep that it's like needs to be released from the body. So anger, bashing a pillow. Fear, shaking, like shaking your body. Like this is a powerful technique to just like release fear from the body. And then sadness is really like, yeah, that like opening the heart, allowing the sound, and just like allowing yourself to cry, like just fully letting yourself cry to the point where it's like, you know, when you cry so much and it feels like your heart is like about to fall out of your chest, and it's like like this is like, I remember doing that once, and it was like it just shifted. like something was so deep was like in me, and I was kept avoiding feeling it. And I went to the depths of it. It was like, oh, so painful. And then all of a sudden, it was like clarity and just peace, you know, because it's like, oh, I could just feel that and just like release it from my body, you know. So it takes that time and space to create for yourself to really do this. And this will help you just feel more emotionally stable and be a clearer channel for creativity, and actually give you inspiration, you know, like, because it's from those like depths of our being we actually draw a lot of inspiration, you know, for what we want to create. It's like our challenges help us, what we've been through, we can relate to others and we can support others move through those things. So if you're in that realm of healing arts and all that, then that's going to be really crucial, you know, to really embody what you're talking about and just be a healthier human, you know. Release the shit. Like, we just need to release all this stuff from us. And then, you know, it results in like less pain when you're bleeding and less loss of blood, because that loss of blood and the pain is just the body telling you like, hey, listen to me. Like, I need you to feel this. This is something from your unconscious that you're not feeling, you're not addressing. So this is like, that's what the pain is signaling us towards. But if you can create that space during this premenstrual, then it'll help you to clear the stuff out. And maybe some of you are feeling, you know, like anxiety or fear, like if you're starting your business, like using your next premenstrual phase to really move through that in a powerful way. Yeah. So I'm just seeing a message. Could you give a couple of practices to get through this phase? Yeah. So those three, what I just shared is like, if you're feeling, you know, fear, shaking. If you're feeling anger, get a pillow, scream into it and beat it. And then if you're feeling sadness, just like try and open your body, like lean back so your heart can open, and like hold yourself and just like cry, like express through, yeah, just like sound, and like allow the tears to fall. And that as the tears fall, like it opens up the heart. So that will be really powerful for you to have some of these practices, and for each cycle, each phase of the cycle. And so yeah, the most important thing for this premenstrual is creating space to release and to really shed what is not serving for the next creation phase, and creating space for that. And knowing that that's going to allow you to be a clearer channel to receive once you start bleeding. It's like you're going into your menstrual phase. It's like you're preparing for like a ceremony almost. It is a ceremony. It's like, okay, I've released a lot of shit. Now I can like just receive from source. And stuff, you know, might still come up, you know, it always does, but it's less, it's just the strongest during that premenstrual phase, especially those few days before, you know. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to answer some questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. So Carmen said, what if I'm still bleeding a lot and they're 3 days of my cycle, but I'm not feeling pain? Yeah, so I'd suggest, so the reason we also bleed a lot, like a lot of blood comes out, is because that life force is not being channeled through the body. It's being, so it's like the downward energy, and it's leaking. So it's too much is coming out. So the practices of Tantra, like the jade egg specifically, is one practice that helps start to seal the pelvic floor and tone those muscles and tone the energy there, so that energy can start redistributing through the body as opposed to leaking out. That's the benefit. The whole practice is about that, is toning and sealing that pelvic floor down there, you know. So energetically, you're starting to like bring the energy up and through the body, as opposed to just release it all through your bleed. So I would suggest starting that. And even, you know, if you're not fully into the jade egg, like even just doing a lot of the like yoga, but focusing on bandhas. So Mula Bandha, the Uddiyana, but like mainly Mula Bandha. So toning that pelvic floor, and things like Pilates can help with that, like, and specific yoga poses, but like really focusing on that region. Okay, Andrea, is follicular stage the best for making decisions? Yeah, so follicular and like, so that second week, and ovulation, those two are like the peak. So when I shared, those 2 weeks of the month, I was like so productive and on point. It was those 2 weeks. And then premenstrual and menstruation were like, just, yeah, a bit of a write-off. Yeah. So anything else from anyone? Does being in this space with your partner when bleeding affect you? From Hannah. Yeah. So because we are so yin naturally, so this is what I've experienced with my partner. He just goes like he's already pretty yang, but he goes even more yang. It's like the polarities go so extreme, and so it's good, but it's actually too intense for me. So I'm so yin and so receptive and so tender. It's like that intensity is too much. And so this is why a lot of women, like I used to in the past, and a lot of sisters I know, like, that aren't aware of this, maybe it's like you just like snap at your partner. It's like we want them away, like, in a way, because we're wanting to do this deep work, especially that first day. This is not the case for everyone. Some women are like super horny, like, and want to just make love with their partner all moon, but generally it's like yeah, it's a time to just be with your own energy and recharge your yin, and so he can just go and be in full yang. And so I generally just, we have he knows, I'm just like, I'm on my moon cave, I'm going into my womb cave. When we don't live together, it's easy, but when we're traveling and now we're living together, he just like goes and does this thing for the day. I'm at home in my space, and he just gives me that space. So you just got to make him aware, like, this is what's happening, just educate him and just ask for that space in a loving way. And maybe he goes away and, I don't know, spends a night with his bros, like a couple of days. It'll be good for him, as well, just to be with masculine energy. Because, in the red tents, it's like, that's like back in the day of, with our ancestors and like in tribal realms, and even now, even in India when I was there, like the women, well, in the red tent tradition, like women would go and all bleed together, and the men would go out hunting. Like they didn't see their man for like 1 to 3 days. They would just be all with women bleeding. And even now, like in India, women they don't have to do work around the house. They get like that 1 day off, and then they don't go to the temples and everything. So these cultures that are tapped in, like, to these I guess universal truths, like, understand it and honor that feminine time. Do you take clients calls during your bleeding and premenstrual? Oh yeah, so that was something I forgot to mention. So during my bleeding phase, like, I literally block out my calendar for the first 3 days. So I use the online calendar system for clients, and I just make myself fully unavailable for those 3 days. So I know when I'm bleeding because it's regular, but like, if you're just starting this, I suggest getting an app and starting to track your cycles. So I use Clue, and there's also one called Flow or Period Diary. And this can, you enter in like day 1 of bleeding, the next cycle, and then it'll send you a notification, you're ovulating, like you're bleeding, like, so when you're next due, so you can like schedule your calendar, like, okay, offline for those days. And I go completely offline, like I take a social media, computer, everything goes off for like 24 hours minimum to really just go deep. I treat it like it's a Vipassana, like no interaction with the outside world, just me and source for 1 day. If your menstrual cycle is not aligned with the actual moon cycle, are there ways to honor both? Yeah, for sure. Like if you're not fully in sync with the moon, you just work with the phases as they are. But like usually they start to sync up once you start going and consciously menstruating and being aware, like they start to kind of sync. It's like It's very magical. And if you don't have a regular cycle, like just say you've just come off the pill or menopause, you can still do this business in feminine flow by working with the moon. So you could put like your ovulation is full moon, and then your menstruation is new moon. So you can do the 4 weeks, you know, around the moon cycle, because those energies, like the full moon is that peak energy, and then the new moon is more of a reflective, like darker time, like the bleeding phase. Okay. So Eva, when I go into the masculine mode, action creation, I have trouble grounding back down into my feminine. Do you have any advice for toning down masculine high and returning back down to feminine? Yeah. So, you know, it's like, it's a lot of like the energies up here. It can be like very action oriented strategy, like do. So the way to tap back into the feminine is like to bring the energy down. So things like dance, like get in your body, like dancing, self-pleasuring, making love, getting in nature, you know, go for a walk, like get offline, because this is like a lot of heat comes from computers, that's yang. Swimming, you know, just like take yourself into more being. So it's like, oh, I'm feeling that, like shift the energy, come into the body. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I have time for just one more question, if anyone has any other questions. Okay, well, Fortini, do you recommend doing a juice cleanse any phase? Oh yeah. Yeah, so juice cleanse is really good to do during the premenstrual phase. So around day 21 to 22, 3, like those 3 days, because what's happening is like your hormones are like, you know, any excess hormones are being dumped through the liver that are, you know, it's like at the peak when you're ovulating, and then it's coming down. It's like the hormones are reducing. So any excess are going to be like taxing on your liver. So if you're doing like a cleanse, even if you do just 1 day during that phase, it'll help just give your digestion a rest, and also like help those excess toxins be dumped from the body, you know. And you want to be eating a bit lighter during this week as well, because so a lot more salads during this week, and steamed vegetables, grains, like lighter grains like quinoa, because it's a lot of fire is during this premenstrual week. So you want to like not add more fire. So don't eat like Indian every day this week. Yeah. Okay. So I go more into like your foods and stuff like that, like in my ebook, in the Menstruation Magic, and yeah, for each phase, and also my course, the Creatress. So yeah, there's no other questions. Yeah, so if you're feeling this, like I'm so excited for you to like actually be getting this information. Like if you're at the start of your journey, you know, I wish I, you know, I knew a lot of this when I started my business. I kind of just like made it up along the journey, like kind of just, it's all just come to me. But like knowing a lot of this would have really helped. And yeah, just like enhanced everything really. So in saying that, so that's kind of really the basis of what I've poured into my next online course, the F.Empire, Feminine Empire. So this is like really like a business and embodiment course, and I cover, you know, business and feminine flow. This is basically like a mini download of like that module. I also give like practices and guided meditations for each phase, and how to really harness it with those practices I talked about in one of the modules, business and feminine flow. And also, you know, it's an 8 module course that takes you from literally the birthing phase till the end of like, or to creating your first high-end offering, sorry, not the end. So we start at the beginning. So it's like, we start with releasing anything that's not serving you, going into inner child work, reprogramming limiting beliefs on a deep somatic level. And then I take you into clarity. So like really getting clear. If you're at that birthing phase, like what's your why? Like what's your how? Really like nutting out like the clarity from the start. Because this is one of the biggest things. Like for me, like I danced around the why for many years. It was kind of like I was there, but like not really. Like it was probably the first few years of business, and I wish that I did this and knew this back then, you know. And even last night I was chatting to a friend, and she's in her 40s and been working, doing, you know, healing arts for a while. But she's like, I was like, what's your why? Like, have you really sat down and nutted out your clarity? And she's like, oh my God, I've never even done that, you know. So it seems so simple, but like it's like we don't create space for this often. And yeah, like set that foundation, because that's really the foundation for everything. If you're starting a business, like get clear on your vision, your why. It's more the masculine, like strategy, but it's essential. It's needed for that like feminine to flow in and the creativity to flow in. So, you know, that's the second module. Then I take you through social media in the third module, like how to work with social media, how to build like a following and online community that's authentic and from your soul, not like copy and paste templates, scheduled posts. Like I don't believe in all that stuff. I'm just all about like authenticity, working from your soul and like what feels like truest to you, because that's really going to bring the most like success to you. It's not like, oh, copy and paste schedule. So that's the third module. And then I go into getting clear on your dream clients. And you know, if you're in a realm of like service based, like how to get clear on who your clients and customers are and how to attract them, as opposed to like having to seek them out. So it's literally like once you get super clear on who that is, who your dream client is, then it's quite easy to, the universe will just match up for that. You know, it's kind of like attracting a partner. It's like, what do I really value? Like, what am I wanting to call in? And when you're really clear, then it comes, like, you know. And if you're confused and don't really know who that is or what you want, then it's not, the universe is like confused as well. And it's going to be harder for those clients to match with your frequency, you know? So I take you through a process around that, meditations, how to call them in. And then, yeah, take you through orgasmic manifestation, how to really like manifest using that orgasmic energy, practices, rituals around that. So it's like you're literally bringing magic into your business and that feminine like receptivity and magnetism into your business. And then, business and feminine flow is one module. This what we did today, but like a bit more in depth. And then the last two modules I take you on, if you're a mentor or like a teacher or a coach, how to craft like your first high-end offering. So, you know, working with like coaching packages, mentoring packages, and yeah, how to really like do that in a way that's authentic and that's really going to serve your clients. And so you can mentor your clients in a blend of masculine structure as well as feminine like compassion, the two together. And also practical things of like, yeah, how to do a sales call, how to set up a calendar, like, you know, simple things that I didn't even know until like a few years ago. How to write a sales page, like how to what to write on a sales page, like how to like what you want to like structure it as, like how many months do you want to do, like what price point should you do, like things like this that are really just helpful if you're in that realm of coaching and mentoring. So, I mean, even if you're not a mentor or coach, like all the 6 modules will definitely help whatever industry you're in. But if you're in that realm, then it will help you to really like, yeah, because that's something that I've really worked through the past few years, was like taking my business to the next level of like high-end mentorships. So having tiers of like online courses that are more middle like income, so you know, like a smaller investment, and then more like one-on-one is a higher investment. So it's a high-end program that you want to have like levels for different, like, you know, people that you're working with, different situations. So yeah, so it's really helpful, this course, for if you're in that birthing phase or the rebirthing phase. You know, I've got a few women who've done it like that, did it before it's launched, just to give me like feedback, and they're already you know, been running their business for a few years, and it's helped them, even, you know, because a lot of them were in just hyper masculine and not bringing in that feminine. They were feeling burnt out, and also to up level their, put their prices up and things like this. And then also I had a couple who are just starting do it, and they've also experienced like, just like, wow, like clarity of like, what am I actually doing, you know? So to help any stage, birthing or rebirthing. So I'm going to send like a little discount to you all, because it births tomorrow, the F.Empire, but like it's open for enrollments now. I'm going to send out a discount to you all in the, when I send you the email with this replay. I'll send the link to the F.Empire course, and then a coupon code that you give you 20% off the course, so you can enjoy that. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I mean, even if you just learned stuff from here, like, I'm super like honored to just share this with you, and yeah, have this beautiful morning together and evening together. So sending so much love to you all. Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Just reading your comments. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, feel free to connect. Follow me on social media if you're not. Tantric Alchemy, tantric.alchemy, and stay connected. You know, I'm always posting good stuff on there. Thank you so much. Mwah. Have a beautiful night and evening, morning, wherever you are.